Hello knitters, this is Barbara Benson. I am an independent knitwear designer. If you would like to know more or see some of my patterns that I have available for you to knit, please check the description and I will put links in there, and all the other stuff that I talk about in this video or any video, I try to put the links in the description, so make sure you check it. As you can see, I am definitely not in Atlanta today. We are on a family vacation in Sarasota, Florida. And I decided to bring you guys with me so that I could get this vlog done. And this is vlog number 3 that, pretty exciting, 3. I'm excited about being in Sarasota because my family is here, but also I'm working on getting a trip to A Good Yarn, which is a fabulous yarn store here in Sarasota. If you're ever in the area, please check it out. And if I manage to get over there, I am going to make a video while I am there. So that'll be fun. It'll be my first try to video a yarn store. I have quite a few things I want to talk about, so let's get going. First, speaking of yarn stores, last weekend I was at a yarn store local to me called Cast On Cottage, which is in Roswell, Georgia, and I was there for a why am I saying Facebook? A YouTube meetup. So it was so exciting. There is a knitting YouTuber named Margaret who has a channel called Sheepishly Sharing. I've mentioned it here before. And she just recently relocated to Atlanta. So another fantastic YouTuber that I just had the opportunity to meet, Joyce from Jay's Knit and Pearl Jam, decided to throw a little get-together to welcome Margaret to the Atlanta area and invited anyone who was in the area who watches either channel to come to Cast On Cottage, and we all got to meet each other, and it was so much fun. There was also the SSK Yarners, which they are a group of 3 ladies who goes and visits yarn stores, and SSK, I believe, is for Sip Knit. There's a little wine involved. They were super nice, and then meeting all the people who are the part of YouTube that I get to talk to in the comments and interact, and it was so much fun to meet people and actually interact face to face, because most of the time I'm just talking to, right now I'm talking to my iPhone, and it doesn't give me a lot of feedback. But it was fabulous, and Cast On Cottage is a great yarn store. They have amazing yarn, and I will probably try to get my camera there sometime soon to show off the really cool stuff they have. The way she displays her yarn, she has these huge walls of yarn that you just kind of want to walk up and go, I love you. But so that was a lot of fun. And I'll put all the links in the description to those other channels that I've mentioned, so you can go check it out, because they have some awesome footage of the actual event. Now, I also wanted to talk about a little bit about my design process, because I decided for these vlogs I wanted to try to start doing a little segment, if you will, about swatching. Now, I hope none of you turned off the video right then, because I adore swatching. Swatching is a huge part of my design process, because I've discovered in talking to other designers that I kind of do things backwards. I don't sketch. I can't draw. And I don't start out with I want a shawl that looks like this and then try to figure out how to make it happen. I start out with the yarn. And I have, and this sounds ridiculous, and it's a little hot, sorry. It sounds ridiculous and a little bit on the woo side, but I have what I call a conversation with the yarn. I get the yarn out. If I need to ball it up, I ball it up. And I just cast on stitches and start knitting. and I knit a little texture, and I knit some cables, and I knit some lace, and I try to see what that yarn likes, what that yarn, every yarn has its strengths and things it does really well, and then they'll have weaknesses, and I don't really want to call it weaknesses. It's just something that that fiber or that particular, however the yarn is constructed, doesn't do very well. And all yarns can't do all things, so I don't think that's a drawback to it. You just have to find what that yarn likes, and then I feel I need to design to that. So this takes a swatch, because I just started, and sometimes I end up with swatches like this long. It's crazy. So I actually have a little swatch that I'm going to show you and go through. This you might recognize from the last vlog. I got this at TNA, and this is Barocco Catlana. It is a cotton wool, and I think a little bit of something, not nylon, but a poly kind of something for strength. It is light. It's incredibly light, and the wool brings some memory. Cotton has a tendency, has very little memory, and it's a heavy fiber. It's funny because it's a light fiber in that it breathes and is great for people like here where it's hot. It's not, doesn't keep you warm, but physically it's heavy. And when you make like large sweaters and stuff out of it, I don't know if you've ever done this, but it tends to elongate, and the weight of the yarn makes the whole thing pull down. So sometimes people, if they haven't swatched and made sure this yarn's gonna work with the pattern, you start with something that's a nice length, and then you end up something that's knee length, or your sleeves are this long. So cotton has some challenges you have to work around. The addition of wool to this is going to give it that memory that you need to help it pull back and keep it in a more flexible space. And it also has a chainette construction, which is going to do something different. So it's really kind of cool. So, and now I'm going to go through what I've done here. Here's the close-up of the swatch, and you'll see I make big swatches, and frankly, there's really not a whole lot of point of making a swatch, in my opinion, under at least 4 inches wide. This is more, how wide is it? Yeah, it's about 4 inches. I also, once I finish and block it, tag it. I wrote down, I always put a little tag. I got these at like one of those office stores. They're just the little white tags, and I write down in my horrible handwriting what I knit and what size needle I did it on, just so I always think I'm gonna remember, but you know, you don't. So what I did is I cast on, and I start with a little garter ridge, and this is a knit purl basket weave pattern, and what I'm doing here is seeing how the yarn works with a texture. I was concerned about this yarn because the chainette construction gives a lot of visual texture to the yarn itself. And sometimes when you have a lot of visual texture to the yarn, other things that can bring visual texture is noops, like in a tweed, or variegation, the color, or fuzzy yarns where you have a whole lot going on inside the stitch in the yarn itself. It can make it difficult to see a texture. This is a fairly large texture. It's not like a seed stitch where it's tiny texture. So I wanted to see how it worked and how it stood, and I think that it came out beautifully in this basket weave. And then I also worked a cable at the same time to see how, again, the yarn performed in a cable. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. I kind of expected it to flatten more than it did, but I think it took this cable nicely. This is a 2/2 cable. I don't know that I would go down to a 1/1 cable in this because of the aforementioned visual texture. It would just get really, there'd be so much going on, I don't think you'd see the cable much. It's not going to pop. And for the same reason, I don't know what I'd do with twisted stitches unless the twisted stitches were in a reverse stockinette field, and that might make them pop out. But the definition of this cable came out much nicer, and I think this yarn really likes the cables. So then I switched to this lace pattern. Now this lace pattern again has texture in it, and this is a more fine texture pattern because it's like 5 purl stitches on the right side and then 4 purl stitches on the wrong side, then 3 2 to create this angle that's coming across. I don't even know if you can see it. So you've got the stockinette and you've got this little angle. So it's a much more subtle one, and I don't think it liked that as much. So that gives more credence to my idea that I don't know about fine texture patterns in this. Like something where you were wanting to do almost a pictorial representation where it's the knit and purls making a picture. I don't think this yarn would like that. It held, I was again surprised. It held the lace after blocking better than I expected it to. So I think this yarn can handle some simple lace like this. No fine detail work in the lace. Again, I mean, it's a heavier weight yarn. It's a worsted weight yarn. But I think for maybe a little detail around a hem or around a neckline, as long as you're keeping the yarn overs and the texture simple, I think it will work. And also, you can see here on this side where this goes into, where this edge goes into the stockinette field, there's not a lot of definition there, but where it goes and overlaps with this reverse stockinette field, it really pops out. So I would say if and when, and I'm leaning towards when, I design with this yarn, I'm going to make use of reverse stockinette to make details pop with cables and lace, and some of the more bulky knit purl patterns. I'm trying to decide what I might want to design. There's a part of me, and I don't know where this part's coming from, that is thinking that I might want to do a baby blanket, but it could also make a really cute tank top, I think, or a cowl, or, you know, the possibilities are endless. But I like this yarn lots and lots. Hey, let's look at the reverse side real quick. Okay, you can see in this texture it's still popping, but the back of the lace is just kind of chaotic. You're getting a little bit, but you know, it's the back side. If you have any thoughts on what you might like to see in this yarn as far as accessory type or pattern type, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Finally, I want to talk about something else exciting that happened last week, is that, and it was kind of exciting and sad at the same time, I wrapped up my peephole shawl knit along in my Ravelry group. I love doing knit alongs, and I don't know if you've ever participated in a knit along, and if you have or have not, next time I have a knit along, I'd love for you to come over and play. We do it in my Ravelry group, which is in the Ravelry forums, and it's a great format because it's, you know, it's the threaded comments, and we can start and talk. And I love the knit along because it's a way for me to interact directly with the people who are knitting my pattern. And if they have any questions, or if they run into any problems, or just, you know, have challenges, I can be there on Ravelry to respond to the issues that they're having. And if I can't be there, Johnny, on the spot, since it's a knit along and there are other people, maybe there's someone else there that's gotten a little bit further than them in the pattern who can jump in and say, oh yeah, that kind of confused me, and here's what I figured out. So it's kind of a village kind of thing, and I love doing it. With the peephole stole, one of the best parts was the colors. was seeing all the different yarns that people chose to put in the striped pattern. And it's amazing because there are people who got different colorways of the Miss Babs gradient, and seeing how the different gradients worked up, they're just beautiful. And some of them are like, oh, I wouldn't have picked that color, but now that I see it, why didn't I pick that color? And then there are some other people. So People Stole calls for about 800 yards. So about 400 yards of each color, which in the original is broken down. That 400 yards is broken down into 3 colors, actually 6 colors. That's a lot of math. If you see the pattern, it's not that confusing. I'm making it more confusing. But you can do it with 2 skeins of essentially fingering or stock weight yarn, because you got about 400 yards. And the people who just did it in 2 colors, it looks fabulous. They did it with some more contrast and just knit the whole length in the 2 colors, and it looks great. And on the other end, there's one, well, I don't want to call her crazy because I'm crazy, one very adventurous individual who is knitting it in Madeline Tosh in those little unicorn tails. So instead of the 3 sections of 2 colors each, she's getting sections about like this big, and it's going to go through, I think, 12 different color combinations. So I think that is an incredibly cool use of those tiny minis, and I can't wait to see it finished. She is actually in my like personal local knit group, and I'm watching it grow and the subtle way it's changing, and it's just so much fun. So I want to thank anyone who might be watching this who participated in the Peephole knit along. I really, it means so much to me when anyone decides to take their limited time that they have for knitting and actually knit one of my patterns, and I take that trust very seriously. So I talked about the meetup, and I talked about the beautiful cotton from Barocco and the Peephole Stole, and I think that's what I've got for you today. I am going to probably go to the beach today. Haha, I bet you wish you were with me. And stay, it's a little muggy. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a lot of knitting because the project I have with me is alpaca, and it's a little sticky, and I'm already sticky, and it's not even 10 o'clock in the morning. But thank you so much for watching my vlog, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon. If you liked this video, please click the like button. And if you would like to be notified whenever I post a new video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.